President Ramaphosa is a criminal president. He told us that $580,000 were stolen from his farm, Phala. That mere fact of keeping foreign money like that in your farm, let alone in your couch, is actually a crime in South Africa. The criminal president is trying every trick in the legal book to have another day in office so that eventually he's never arrested and is never tried. At some point, the ANC was broke, and we knew about it. They couldn't pay their employees, and suddenly the ANC is no longer broke. It has money to pay its staff. It even had money to campaign for the 2024 elections. So I think it's for South Africans to connect the dots.
What's your view of President Ramaphosa and the whole impeachment saga?
Look, Mike, I've said this before. President Ramaphosa is a criminal president. I don't mince my words. What do I mean? He told us that $580,000 were stolen from his farm, Phala. Now, that mere fact of keeping foreign money like that in your farm, let alone in your couch, is actually a crime in South Africa. So the fact that he admits that he kept money like that means that he is a criminal president. That's the most important thing for South Africans to keep in mind, that we have a criminal president. So what is this criminal president doing? The criminal president is trying every trick in the legal book to have another day in office so that eventually he's never arrested and is never tried. That's what this whole thing is about. So the whole thing about the Constitutional Court judgment that he needs to face impeachment and Parliament aid, we as a country, we are made to chase our own tails because the criminal president is playing legal tricks. That's the essence of it. That's what I make of this whole thing. Now, the question is, what next? Has run to court, has filed papers yesterday to review the report, and that will take time. He's buying time. If that review process ultimately is set aside, in other words, if he does not win, then next step will be for the impeachment process to begin in Parliament. Let me tell you, Mike, he is not going to subject himself to an impeachment process. He will resign. The moment he knows that he no longer has legal room to play, he will resign. He will never, even for one day, appear before a parliamentary committee that is considering his impeachment. You know, the dilemma that he faces is the same dilemma that was faced by Jacob Zuma before the Zondo Commission. Jacob Zuma knew that if he testified before the Zondo Commission, a lot of worms would come out. So his people and his lawyers advised him and say, hey, if you want to continue sitting on those worms, don't open your mouth before the Zondo Commission, because if you do, all of those worms will come out. And those worms would have destroyed Zuma, would have destroyed the ANC. It would have actually revealed a lot of things. So Cyril Ramaphosa is sitting on worms. He will never lift his body because he does not want those worms to come out. If they were to come out, they would destroy him. They would also destroy the ANC. I believe that was the ANC money, by the way.
Tell us more. Why do you think it's ANC money? What about the cattle?
It's a theory. There's no cattle that was bought. I mean, there's nothing like that. I mean, we know, for example, that this money was not declared to SARS. So if this money was declared to SARS, we say, oh, maybe it was some genuine commercial activity. No, none of that. The reason why I suspect this was ANC man is because the ANC have been defending him. Why are the ANC defending this fellow if they have nothing to do with that man? I mean, they have been doing everything in their power to defend this guy. Why? It's because they know that this was their money. If it was his personal money, they would have just let him go to jail. No, they are defending him because they know that they had to do with this man. I think that this money was kept on Cyril's farm because they did not trust each other. They knew that if they put it somewhere in the Tula house, they themselves would have stolen it. Because, I mean, the ANC fellows are thieves anyway, we know them.
Okay, so probably money, any speculation on sources of that money?
Well, speculations are there, by the way. And I talk to a lot of people, by the way, who know a bit about this stuff. The speculation is that this money comes from outside South Africa. I don't know much. I can't confirm it. But that's what the speculations are suggesting, that this money comes from outside South Africa. Somewhere in Asia, that's what I'm hearing. But I can't confirm it because obviously I was not there. I didn't see it. But the interesting thing is that at some point the ANC was broke. And we knew about it. They couldn't pay their employees. At some point, they host a delegation from Iran in Lutula House. And they even take pictures, by the way. I remember I saw that. A delegation from Iran. And suddenly the ANC is no longer broke. It has money to pay its staff. It even had money to campaign for the 2024 elections. So I think it's for South Africans to connect the dots.
So, Prince, while President Cyril Ramaphosa is fighting his impeachment battle, what happens to the country?
Well, it means that the country will drift unguided. Let's be frank about it. South Africa, as we speak now, has no leadership. The president is fighting for another day in office, dodging his criminal issues. Citizens are taking matters into their own hands. Look at March and March. Citizens are sick and tired because they feel the pressures in communities, pressures that are exerted by the presence of illegal foreigners who are taking jobs, committing crime, and so on. Why did we get here? We got here because there is no government. So citizens are merely taking matters into their own hands. And I know that the elites, by the way, say, no, you can't do it that way, and so on. Here is the thing. The elites don't realize that they have already taken matters into their own hands themselves. Where do the elites live? They live in gated communities. That's taking matters into your own hands. Nobody is supposed to live in a gated community if the state was providing security. So the elites are condemning the poor when the poor are but the elites have already taken matters into their own hands. We are here because there is no leadership. So South Africans must talk and say, what do we do with our country? Because there is no leadership. Yeah. That's the challenge.
Now, of course, this is going to lead to, in all likelihood, a leadership contestation, because what actually practically happens if his appeal is unsuccessful, the impeachment wants to go ahead. I think most of the country agrees that President Cyril Ramaphosa is not the kind of guy to sit in front of an impeachment committee, and he will probably resign. What is the likely outcome? Who takes over? Who is the president? How does this actually work?
It's not complicated. Our constitution is very clear. If the president resigns, the deputy president takes over, and there would be elections within 90 days if Parliament can elect a new president. That's how it works generally. We have not experienced that because Parliament has always elected. Whenever a president is withdrawn, the ANC would have its majority, and then that mechanism would kick in Parliament. They would elect a new president. But given where we are now, where the ANC doesn't have a majority, the ANC would have to be assisted by the DA and other parties. So the next leader of South Africa, when Cyril resigns, will have to be the deputy president of the country, and that happens to be Paul Mashatile. I know that people say, no, Paul can't be president. But he is the deputy president of the country. If Cyril were to resign today, Paul would be the president of South Africa. That's how it works. So there is nothing that we don't know. The question is, would the DA support the ANC to elect Paul as, in inverted commas, a permanent president in this current electoral cycle? That is a question that the DA would have to answer. But we know who would be president. It will be Paul Mashatile. And we must not beat about the bushes. That's the man.
And in all likelihood, then what becomes of the government of national unity?
Well, the DA will have to decide, because the DA is the biggest component in that, after the ANC, in that government of national unity. So if the DA were to withdraw, by the way, its support for the GNU, there would be no government of national unity. It would have to be replaced either by Umkhonto we Sizwe or the EFF in order for that government to stand numerically. So the DA would have to decide at that point. And the DA would have to make a bargain with the devil. In any case, the DA has already bargained with the devil. The ANC, as I said, they are a bunch of criminals. So the DA is in the theater of criminality. Look at this Madlanga Commission thing. Kat Matala has been running rings around the GNU with the DA present right in cabinet. So the DA can't say we didn't make a bargain with the devil. They have already made a bargain with the devil. It could be that at that point the DA would have to decide to make a bargain with the devil's worst angel.
Yeah, because you could have, is there space for a deal, for example, a backroom deal where the DA and the ANC gets together and decides to vote for, I don't know, Fikile Mbalula as the president? Is there space? Could that happen?
It would have to be negotiated by the leader of government at that time, who actually must preside over those negotiations, would be Paul Mashatile.